opening night of the NBA season is
to the Tampa Bay Lightning, losing to Philadelphia Fever. Our producer, Dan, a Phillies fan, an Eagles fan, somewhat closet Flyers fan. The guy is loving life right now in Philadelphia because their teams are just playing absolutely great. The Sixers didn't play great last night. But with that said, Andrew, 3 soccer plays today and 2 NHL plays today. It's a big card for me. And tonight are my first 2 4% NHL plays. I have started. I said I was going to take a cautious approach to the NHL season, and I have with 3% plays or less, and it's a couple of 4% for tonight. So we'll see what is going on.
Awesome. Sounds like a jam-packed day, and I love when you have some afternoon soccer crime. It's great. You get some afternoon action. You take care of business there. Then all of a sudden, the night you have some hockey. That's always fun. You got your games on the bed all day.
I'm going to text you or call you after the show and give you these plays. They go at 2:30 this afternoon in the Premier League, and I like, of course, all 3 of them. So I have action on them already, and I think the lines may move before game time. So you want to get on those as soon as you can. But Prez, he's a little under the weather, and he has obviously the presidential report today. And he has Wager Talk today, which I will be the first guest on today. And I'll have an NFL Thursday night prop for you guys, along with an hockey one as well, too. So tune into that one at the top of the hour. But we gave him the day off. When you're the GOAT, Andrew, you got to give the GOAT a day off every once in a while. And he did fill in for me when I had no voice. And clearly I have one now. So with that said, we had 3 games.
Yeah, those 3 games we have the Flyers, Panthers, Jets visiting Colorado, taking on the Avalanche, and the last one here with the Blues and Seattle Kraken. And just really quick, Carm, on what you mentioned there about these top-tier teams getting a little upset to start the year. I think that this is really the time to do it. This is the time that we see those upsets happen, and kind of when teams start to figure each other out more, as the season progresses, and the longevity of the season kicks in, that's when you start to see things balance out and teams really show who their true selves are. So I'm not saying that, hey, maybe the Flyers are better than we thought they were. Who knows? Maybe some of these teams like Buffalo are better than we thought they were, but I'll give it some time. A week or two, sure, they can have some fun, but I'm not really buying into that. So a big word you used yesterday on the show was overreacting, and I think that that's really important for not just these favorites early that are losing, but also the underdogs that are winning, right? You can look at things both ways, but I think it really makes sense both ways, not to overreact to the bad teams playing well or the good teams playing poorly.
And Andrew, I believe in it. Some of the angles that I take throughout a season, and we, as far as hockey goes, we look at forecasting a team's whether they're about to hit a good streak because of a long homestand against teams who are subpar teams, or not a lot of back-to-backs or what have you. You can sort of try and get onto a streak or anticipate a streak before it happens, because you want to get in when the price is right, and you don't want to get in at the tail end of a streak where they might be ready. That streak might be ready to pop and lose. It's the same thing, overreaction. I took that approach during the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. Week 1, I took a stand on, I know it's a hockey show, but I'm going to talk about it again. I took a stand on liking a lot of dogs. And then I knew there would be overreaction in week 2. All I know is it worked for the first 4 weeks of the NFL season as far as the circa goes. I'm having a good NFL season, a profitable one, but it worked in circa, and it turned into a $105K windfall for me. Just looking at overreaction and just looking at those lines and numbers, and you just go from there. If you're wrong, you tweak it and you own it. So and that's what I love about you, Andrew, is the fact that on Twitter you own it, but you don't own it a lot because you're always on a good run. So that I don't like.
Well, last night, you could tell when I'm messaging you, I don't get pissed off that often, but I was pretty mad about a push. I had over 6 in the Devils and Ducks game, and it's tough because that when people are buying throughout the day, most people that bought that got the 6.5, right? And it's frustrating because and you had that play as well. We were both hoping for it to get there. You don't want to just settle for the push. I had the Senators and the over in that game, the Ducks game. So I ended up plus 2% profit on the night, and I was pissed all night. So, I didn't even care about that plus 2%. I wanted the plus 7. But today's a new day, and there's 3 games to break down. So,
let's get to it.
So let's do it. And real quick, Howard, that's his name, Howard. I want to shout him out. Here's the parlay on the screen. We had the Ottawa Senators. We had the Calgary Flames and the Predators in the first period on the puck line. And I'll tell you what, Carm, the first period puck lines on a parlay, that's a bold move, and putting those in there at plus 140. Shout out to Don Buster, because I'm sure that really, pepped up that parlay a little bit and made that guy some coins. So thanks a lot to Howard for sending that into me.
And congratulations, Howard. And I said, I think to close off the show, that's the Buster that I love on this show. The guy who comes with these first period -0.5 plus monies. And I'm telling you, last year, sure, there were losing ones, but he had way more winners than losers. When you're cashing plus money tickets, that is all that matters. You're making money at the end of the year, and kudos to Buster, man. I gave him a hard time the first show because he didn't have a plus money play, but he did on Tuesday's show, and it clicked. So I'm looking forward to next Tuesday's show.
Good to start with those plays. All right, let's jump into today here. The Florida Panthers, like I said, playing host to Philadelphia. They're in their little Florida trip here as they took on Tampa Bay last night and got the job done. They're plus 275 underdogs, massive favorites for Florida. Total at 6.5. All 3 games tonight opened at 6.5. I don't think all 3 are going to close at 6.5. But if you want the puck line for Florida, you can get a really, really nice, plus, I think, 210, something like that, or maybe somewhere to 150, something like that. But it's a pretty good price depending on where you shop for the puck line on the Florida Panthers. But, Carm, when a game like this approaches, especially when it's a back-to-back, I talked about it last year on the show that a lot of teams, they played – actually, no, you coined this phrase, the Florida double. That's what you called it, the Florida double, thinking back to last year. And when you see teams like this that are kind of in the bottom tier, or at least we project them to be, I mean, Philadelphia is 3-0 right now. The back-to-back is rough, but also a back-to-back against two really dangerous offensive teams. But how do you approach a game like this where we have a Florida Panthers team that's minus 345?
Yeah, and that's one of those things, like, because even the regulation price on Florida would be way too high. It passes the ceiling of what I'll play as far as a regulation price. And I'll use Tampa as an example. Yesterday, I think I told one of the guys in chat, do not play Tampa minus 300. It's just not a good bet. And then even the regulation line, when I looked at it, it was like minus 180. I still think that's too high. If I'm not going to play a team normally for a full game, including overtime, at minus 180, I certainly don't want to take that a team in only 60 minutes at 180. But with that said, getting back to this game, Andrew, you probably look at goals. I get it. We always talk about a team returning home off a road trip. Listen, it's early in the season. Florida played 3 games on the road, all the East Coast. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for them, especially this early in the season. And they looked flat in Boston. So a good shot to rebound here. And then you get, like I said, it's not a big travel one for Philadelphia, even though it's back-to-back because it's in the state of Florida. But the thing is, the Flyers have surprised 3 teams thus far in the season, but now we're going to their backup goalie, Felix Sandstrom. I like playing against a goalie coming off of an injury, which he did. I guess he injured it in preseason, but he came off a groin injury, which is probably the worst injury you can have as a goaltender because you never truly shake that off. And if it could go south for him, you're gonna have a Florida team tonight that is going to be skating at the Flyers tonight. So we're going to see how this goes, but I think we're going to see some goals in that first period. With that said, there's 2 options here. You have many places have minus 1.5, minus 165, too much juice. There's the options of taking 2s where you get plus money. So you can get 2 at plus 115 to plus 120 at places like DraftKings. If it lands on 2, I get it. You would have won 1, you would have pushed another. Again, I'm not a big lane juice, especially on a first period total. So with that said, Andrew, I'm going to take over 2 in this game, first period, and take the plus money. If it lands on a push, I'm fine with it. We just move on to the next bet, but I'm not going to lay the big juice. But I think we see some goals here.
I can't argue it. I have to give credit to John Tortorella and what he's done to this team. I don't know what he's saying to this young team and what he's saying to Carter Hart, but he's off to a great start in net as well. And overall, the team looks confident. But that's what happens with these teams. Before they lose a couple games, they don't know they're bad yet. Nobody's told them. Nobody's beat them down yet, Carm. Nobody's told this team that they aren't any good, just the media. And you know what? The players don't really care what the media thinks. Flyers are 3-0 right now. But I think you and I disagree with kind of how they're going to fare moving forward. And I don't know if they're going to be able to maintain this 3-0. But it's all about finding ways to bet these big price games like you mentioned. And a couple weeks ago, or I guess last week, for me, I found when it was Pittsburgh Penguins and the Arizona Coyotes. That was last Wednesday, actually. So a week ago today. And it was a massive price. And I was able to get a really, really solid number on the first period puck line. I believe I made that my best bet on the show. And that's my plan here for today. Because one thing interesting about these, Carmen, I hate throwing around these cliche handicapper terms, the letdown, the look ahead, all that stuff. But you know what? I like when a team is playing a bottom feeder, but they're coming off a loss. Right, and that's what Florida is right now. They're coming off a game that they shouldn't be happy about against the Boston Bruins. If they're coming in this game after they blew out Boston Bruins 7-1, I would feel less confident about a first period play in this game. They're off a loss. That wasn't really a good game for them, and it was a road loss. Now they're back at home, catching a team on a back-to-back, feeling pretty good after upsetting a team that's been to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 straight times. That's pretty impressive for them to do. I feel like they get shut down and it starts in the first period. I think it's pretty incredible, Carm. I get it that it's 20 minutes, but for some reason I'm still always shocked by this. that you can see a game that's priced so heavily, but then in the first period, I can get them to win that at -110. I think it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, and listen, we're not saying that there's only one team that can win tonight, and it's going to be Florida, even though the bookmakers with that price that they're putting out are obviously trying to tell you that. Because we saw it last year with the Florida double. There were some teams and a couple of bad teams that went into like Tampa and beat Tampa. And then we're all thinking there's no way they're going to go into Florida and sweep the Florida double. And then they went and did that. And then there were some very good teams, like I think it was Carolina last year, who finished first in the Metro, that went and got absolutely bombed in both games. So it is going to happen to teams. So again, just -350s. Do not play these guys. Do not include them into parlays because you need action on the game. You're like, well, they're going to win because just look at Tampa Bay yesterday. Look at the Leafs the night before. Look at Edmonton last night. I don't even know what the price was on Edmonton. It had to be 250 or so against the Sabres.
Yeah.
This early in the season, guys, let's not overreact. The good teams are going to lose some games, but just let these first couple of weeks go by. Let these guys get into their rhythm, and then you're going to be jumping on teams that are very good teams that are winning 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row, and you're going to be making money. But don't lose it in the first 2 weeks. I made that mistake last year. I admitted it. I had a bad October because I literally didn't look at the overreactions and just figured these teams were going to win.
And I'm going to be using a best bet in this game. It's going to be a player prop. But another one that I'm not using for a best bet, but I think is intriguing, is the Carter Hart save prop. If he's in there, or even Sandstrom, like you mentioned. I'm seeing kind of different websites saying different things. I doubt they would throw the same guy out there twice in a row. But, Philadelphia, as much as they've had a good start, they have really relied on their goaltenders to play huge for them so far. Wouldn't surprise me to see a boatload of shots for the Florida Panthers. I talked yesterday on the show even about guys like Matthew Tkachuk that get traded to a new team and how they want to make that immediate impact. They didn't replace Huberdeau with Tkachuk for no reason, even though he's a little bit of a different player. They know what he's capable of. His shots on goal prop, albeit it's juiced, it's still at 2.5. I would look at that. It's an interesting game, I think, for props. But the goaltending prop here for the Philadelphia Flyers, I think, is worth a sprinkle on the save prop. Let's jump into the Winnipeg Jets and Colorado Avalanche. This game, well, it piques my interest because, number one, Colorado so far this year, they had that one hiccup, of course, against Calgary. But no matter what kind of game they're playing in, and if it's them doing the scoring or their opponent, they're going up and over the total. Now, the total, once again, is 6.5 here in this game, and they're hosting Winnipeg. They're favorites at -225. Winnipeg is off a loss against Dallas. They're +185 underdogs. And you take a look at this Winnipeg team, and I'll tell you guys, I really think that for them to be successful, they do not want to get in these back and forth goal fest type of hockey games. The fact of the matter is the better team dictates the pace. The better team usually dictates what the total is going to be. And I think that if they want to hang with Colorado, they're not going to be able to slow them down. They might contain them for a couple of shifts, a period, but they have to get some goals. A sneaky play I was looking at in this game was actually the team total, Carm, for the Winnipeg Jets. I know it's easy to look at every single night. We can take the Colorado Avalanche team total and we can look at all the offensive weapons that they have. Look at this Winnipeg Jets team total over 2.5 is -130. And some people might say to me, well, why would you take that at -130 and not the +185 on Winnipeg on the money line? And I'll simply just say it. I'm more confident that they'll get 3 goals tonight than I am that they'll win this game. 3 goals from the Winnipeg Jets, to me, against Colorado does not mean that they'll come out on top. So I like their team total to get some goals, to have a big performance. But will 3 goals be enough, Carm? I'm not so sure. What are your thoughts?
It's funny, Andrew, because I didn't know where you were going with this, and I was about to say, you son of a, but I stopped myself when you said Winnipeg team total, because We can actually both get there if someone likes the total, because the price on Colorado's team total I'm seeing right now at over 3.5 is -145, and that's the way I would go here. You know the Avs are going to get goals in this game, or you have to think they're going to get goals. These teams only played twice in Colorado last year, and Colorado lit them up for, I think, 13 goals, 7 in one, 6 in the other. And we know how strong the Avs are at home. So they're other than that game in Calgary, that was probably a bad spot for them. This team has picked up where they left off. They're scoring goals. They're an offensive juggernaut of a team. And getting over the total of 3.5 at home just seems like it is something that they should be able to do. And only paying 145 in juice for a team total for Colorado, I don't mind. So you could get there, and I could get there with a 4-3 game, and which negates that thought of why not take Winnipeg. Well, they lost the game. You won your total. I won my total, and anyone who bet the game over wins their total. So I'll go with that. Colorado over 3.5 goals -145.
So for anybody watching, they might as well just bet the full game over, because we like the team totals for both teams.
Unless one of us is wrong. Right? So
of course. But we got to think optimistically here. If we're both correct, the full game flies over. Winnipeg, I couldn't remember, so I just switched up. I thought they only played 2 games. I looked before the show and said they played two games only, but I thought most teams had already played at least 3. But that's not true. So they had that game against the Rangers where they caught the Rangers in kind of a bad spot, played very well. And then against the Stars, they scored just 1. So actually both games they've played in actually had the same score line, Carm, which is kind of interesting. They're both 4-1, except for one of them they lost, one of them they won. Do you think that this Winnipeg team has a depth problem? Are they top heavy? Because I never really thought to think that they are, but now that I look at it, if you look at the goal scoring props for them, I think it's very easy to tell if a team is top heavy when you look at the goal scoring props, and it's a big difference from a couple guys to the rest of the pack. If I told you tonight that Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers, or Kyle Connor weren't going to score, would you tell me that they even have a remote chance of competing in this game? That to me is kind of a worry for this Jets team.
Yeah, and I'm going to reserve my judgment on the Winnipeg Jets for at least a couple of weeks. I know I sound like a broken record, but I think I said before their game against the Rangers when we talked about it on Puck Time, like they're the one team who during the preseason and before the season started, that I could not get a read on. I can't figure out this team, so I'm going to have to watch some games to know when I want to bet on them or bet against them, and I'm still not there. So I'm just going to have to wait a little longer. What I do know is I want to bet on Colorado in a spot like this. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're coming back from a very short road trip. That doesn't worry me. Again, it's early in the season. These players haven't gotten into that grind. It's just like talking about yesterday. I talked about numbers on fading a team in the second of a back-to-back. In the first 20 games of a season, it was profitable the last 3 years or so. Not so much in the second 20-game segment. You look at the Bruins. They come off a big win against Florida and then go into Ottawa. And yeah, they scored a bunch of goals. But Ottawa came out on the right end of it, 7-5. At the end of the day, it was an L for the Bruins in the second of a back-to-back.
100%, and I like the way you said that, Garb. I'm just gonna hold my judgment. I like the way you said that. I don't want to judge this team just yet. We'll be patient with them and see what happens, because we can be harsh critics of these teams,
Yeah, no, and every year, and this is why I love the Pucksters in our live chat, and then later on when the video's posted, they'll comment and they'll be like, why is Carmine so hard on the Kings? We have a good team. Or why is he so hard on St. Louis? We have a lot of guys injured. No, I'm not hard on any team. I just bring forth the fact that they're not playing well, so we just have to go against them. You know what I mean? It is nothing against any teams. It's just, you know what I mean? We're not disrespecting them. We're just pointing to where the numbers are leading us. Like someone thought, last year in the playoffs that I was hard on the Rangers, although I did give them out at the beginning of the year as the team to represent the East in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they almost got there. So no, it's just I'll reserve judgment. I just don't want to say anything on Winnipeg and then just look like the reverse end of a donkey or whatever, right? So it is what it is. Prez is the goat. I don't want to be the donkey in this story on Puck Time.
Hey, the only team I'm hard on is a team that plays against my favorite team, the Montreal Canadiens. Other than that, I'm just cheering on whoever I bet on. I'm just trying to make some money. That's all I want to do here on this show and with the clients. And you talked about the Blues. Well, the Blues, they've only played one game so far this season, and it was a pretty good one for them. But let's talk about the Blues right now here as they go ahead and they take on the Seattle Kraken tonight. And that's our third game of the night, the nightcap here, 10:05 Eastern time, as the Blues on the road -130, Seattle +110. Total is 6 now. It was 6.5, but that number got pounded down to 6. Again, take a look at this Blues team. They've played one game so far. They put a 5 spot up on the Blue Jackets. As far as the Kraken goes, well, they've played a lot more than just one so far. They played against the Ducks. They played the Kings. They played the Hurricanes and the Golden Knights. Look, it hasn't been the easiest schedule by any means for the Kraken, Carm. It's been pretty difficult for them, and they've had a lot of teams that have high-powered offenses, but also have teams that can shut things down defensively. Doesn't really get any better tonight against the Blues here, Carm.
No, it doesn't. The good thing is, although they're just projected to be the starters tonight, it should be Binnington and Grubauer, though Grubauer's been lit up twice. You have to figure at some point, Seattle isn't as bad as they've played defensively, allowing 4+ goals in these games. You look at St. Louis; they've only played one game thus far, so you can't really go off of a lot of the data unless you're overreacting to how Seattle is playing and think that St. Louis is just going to do the exact same thing to them and blow them out of the water. The Blues have only played one game, but I will say, if you look at the Blues defensively in that game, they're going to be a tough team this year to break down defensively. I like their defensive corps. And in that 5-2 win, their expected goals allowed was only 1.13, which is pretty outstanding in itself. It tells you how well they played defensively in that game. So we'll see if they carry it on the road. You can only look at numbers from last year when you're looking at these two teams. They played, 3 times? Each game stayed under the total. And this was originally lined at 6.5, and I had set it up to be my best bet. It's still going to remain at it at the end of the show, but it's at an adjusted number. I bet it at under 6.5, and the total is now at 6. And I think 6.5 was an inflated number. I think 6 is probably the right number, and I think it still stays under the total. So I'm leaning under here in this one.
I agree with you. You take a look at the 6.5. I think it got pushed down for a reason, like you mentioned. And the Seattle Kraken, I think that despite what we've seen so far, I talked about it, the schedule hasn't been great for them. They played some good teams. And then after their most recent game was against Carolina, a team that once they get a lead, it's hard to get back from them. They're a team that they're really good at getting a lead and protecting it. That's what they do, So, Seattle's a better defensive team, and they're better, like you said, than anyone gives them credit for. I like the way they're built. I don't think they're built to be an over team. I tweeted out a couple days ago, are the Seattle Kraken an over team? And then I said, do they want to be a high-scoring type team? And I don't really think the answer is yes. I think they ideally want Grubauer to play well, lock it down defensively, and score a couple goals.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And listen, they have some nice young talent coming into that team who probably have some very good offense in them, but it just doesn't come together in 3 or 4 or 5 preseason games and in 3 regular season games. You got to build these units together. With the team you're a fan of, the Montreal Canadiens, and the younger guys. Martin St. Louis in Montreal, not to go off topic here, he talked about letting these guys develop their games together and him not pushing them. You let these guys form a cohesion and play well on the ice together. You can't force them to play well together. You make them come together, and that's what's going to happen with Seattle with these younger guys. They'll come together. they'll start to score some goals, and they'll entertain their fans. But right now, we're just not seeing it. They just need to get a little bit better, tighten up defensively, and give themselves a chance to win every night.
I do think it's a short price on the Blues. I do like them here. I think the Kraken need to play a team that gives up more goals in order to kind of kick off their season with a big win, in order to kind of get their confidence and their mojo going. I don't think the Blues are a team for them to do that against, especially because they're a really big veteran-based team. A lot of big physical guys as well. They won't take this game lightly. I think the Blues get the job done. And both Carm and I looking towards a low-scoring hockey game. Carm, again, you've got some soccer action going on this afternoon, a jam-packed card for you tonight. You said 2 4% plays, I believe, in the NHL tonight. So it's a busy day. It's a busy week overall. The weekend's coming with football, pro and college. Just let everyone know, again, what's going on for you this weekend.
Yeah,
and tonight.
And tonight. Yeah, 3 soccer plays. They all go off at 2:30 in the Premier League. And then, of course, 2 NHL plays. The only other play I have loaded right now is the NFL 5% play that goes on a Sunday that I wanted to get up early because I wanted to get it up early in case the line moves. I want my all-access clients to get on it and my NFL college football clients to get on to this NFL play. So you can get that over at Wager Talk. And if you watch Wager Talk today, because I couldn't get it done in time, if you watch Wager Talk today, I will have, I'll be out, the first guest on the show. I'll have a $30 off 7-day all access coupon. So you can snag that in about 20 minutes time or 30 minutes time and get $30 off the $99 price and get it for 7 days for $69. So less than $10 a day. You'll get all of today's plays, and then you'll get that 5% play as well.
Awesome stuff. So despite that number moving, you're really still a big fan of that St. Louis and Seattle game under, right?
Yeah. So, yes, as far as thank you, Andrew. As far as my best bet for the show, it was originally set at the under 6.5 when we sent in our best bets. The numbers dropped to 6. I still like it. I bet it at 6.5, but it is still a bet for me at 6. So we're going to take under 6 in tonight's Blues Kraken game. Let's get Kraken.
Let's get Kraken. Hey, it's a 3-game slate. I found last year that here on Puck Time and personally, we were able to make some money. There's no distractions. There's not a million games to break down. It's 3 games to try and dive deep here and make some money off these. And I think we are going to do that tonight. I have just the one play up. It's a 4% play, though, in the National Hockey League for tonight. I'm coming off a winning night last night, but one that I wasn't really too happy with as I got the push in my 5% play, but a lot of people got 6.5. So I'm motivated to get on a good run here. It hasn't been a great start, but hasn't been a terrible start either to the NHL season, but I want to pick it up a little bit. Carm, UFC, I haven't talked about UFC that much, but big, massive UFC Abu Dhabi this weekend. I cannot wait to watch this UFC card. A lot of great fights, and I have a 5% play up at wagertalk.com in the UFC. Those plays have been fantastic, and overall, it is a 21-9 5% all sports run, and I'm number 2 at the entire website with UFC plays. So I know you guys all don't know me for UFC, but slowly UFC has been actually one of my most consistent sports this season. Real quick, my best bet, we're going to go with Alexander Barkov over 3.5 shots on goal. He hasn't reached this so far this season, but at plus 125 and against a team on a back-to-back off a big upset victory in the Philadelphia Flyers, I think he gets it done, and I think he plays a huge role for his team tonight. Carm, over to you.
Yeah, man. Andrew, I appreciate you send me these UFC plays, and you're like that the stealth mode guy that comes out of nowhere with like the leg that just goes up in the air like this and knocks a guy out with a foot to the chin and stuff like that with your plays. So I really appreciate you sending me these plays, and I don't have to send you any money for them. So I'll reciprocate at some point, but I wish you the best of luck with of course, all of your plays and that UFC play. So, guys, head over to Andrew's page and get that stealth bomber of a play.
I appreciate it. Yeah, the low volumes help me in UFC. I've just been picking kind of a best bet every week, and we're doing pretty well with that. You're going to go for the sweep in soccer. I'm going to go for the sweep in UFC this weekend. Hopefully, we both have a great night tonight, though. I have Barkov over on his shots on goal. My first prop best bet of the year so far on Puck Time. Carmine has St. Louis and Seattle under the total of 6. Let's have another winning day here on Puck Time. And on behalf of Carmine Bianco, I'm Andrew McInnis. All of you guys, I hope you have a great night. Best of luck, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Opening night of the NBA season is close. It's Tuesday, October 18th. Do you think the Golden State Warriors can repeat? To celebrate the start of the season, we are offering you a 7-day NBA package for only $49. Yes, that's only $7 a day, and it will be valid through Sunday, October 23rd at both Wager Talk and Sports Memo. There is no limit to the number of handicappers that you can get. Just head to your favorite capper's homepage.